Hey friends, so recently I did a video on what's in my camera bag. I showed you guys all that I shot weddings with, and then about a month later we completely upgraded and changed what we're shooting with. So we're still kind of transitioning, but I felt like I should update you and show you what we're shooting with now, some things that I like about it, because I know that I shared before I was kind of scared of the R6, and I've been shooting weddings for a long time and I've always shot them on the same camera. This is a big change and I just felt like I should kind of update you guys. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Caitlin Workman. I'm here to encourage and empower you on your photography journey. Before we get started, if you are shooting with the R6 and you have issues with editing, I know a lot of people do, you guys can grab my starter preset below. And this is not like a one click and done, but it is the preset that I start with every time. So you guys can grab that for free. And there's a whole nother video showing you how I edit it. And in that video, I edited some photos with the Mark III and with the R6. Same wedding day, but I was still shooting with both cameras, so you guys can see that. It's actually funny because I was shooting with my Mark III and my husband was shooting with the R6 because I didn't like it yet, and he loved the touchscreen and all that stuff. And then I was looking at his photos and his photos were better than mine, and I'm like, we can't have that. I am not a techie person at all. My husband bought my first Canon Rebel, and then I upgraded to the Canon Mark III, and I was learning from Caitlin James at the time. I was like, okay, she told me to buy this camera, bought that camera, was happy with it this whole time. So I am not a techie person, but this camera has been incredible. Also, as a disclaimer, we didn't upgrade until we've been doing this 5 or 6 years. If you are just getting started, I do not think that this is necessary in order to be a great wedding photographer. I think we served our clients really well with the gear that we had. So look at what your budget is. I don't believe in going into crazy debt just to have the latest and greatest gear. You can also find things used and all of that. We're really big on saving and being wise with your money. That's how we've gotten where we're at. And so if you cannot afford this, that's totally fine. Go watch that other video and see what we used for years. That totally worked. But one reason that I wanted to get this camera is because I wanted this lens, which is the 28-70. It's massive. Like, I'm so much more sore on wedding days because it is so heavy. The camera's not. The camera's really lightweight, but this lens is so heavy. But when I heard what people were saying about this lens, it made me want this camera, and it has not disappointed. I have never used zoom lenses. I have always shot with 35, 50, and an 85. The only one of those that was a prime lens was my 85. The other two were like very affordable. I would most of the time switch between my 35 and 85. And it was constantly like, okay, let me switch. Okay, let me switch. But then we kind of started switching where like my husband would shoot with the 35 and I would shoot with the 85 during portraits, and that worked pretty well. But there just wasn't as much like flexibility. And like during the ceremony, I was kind of limited because in order to like switch lenses discreetly, like I've never carried 2 cameras. I'm just not gonna do that. I think it's just a bit excessive for me. If I start shooting film, which I'm hoping to start just for fun, if something happens and I'm shooting film some, then maybe I would keep 2 cameras on me. But I feel like physically that's hard. The 28-70 is beautiful because it goes all the way down to 2.0 aperture, which still gives me that like blurry background that I love. And a lot of zoom lenses didn't have that capability. And it's so sharp, like it's really hard to miss focus. Actually, recently I was going to cull a wedding, and I have a whole video on how I cull using Photo Mechanic if you guys have questions about that. But I imported all the photos, and it was a simpler day. Like, they didn't do a first look. They had very few portraits just because they didn't want to spend a lot of time doing portraits. The ceremony was very simple, and it was a Catholic wedding, so we weren't able to like move around very much. And there weren't very many details. There were a lot of reasons why this gallery could have been smaller than others, which is totally fine. That happens a lot. But I was importing them, and there were like a third of the photos that I would normally have shot, not delivered, just like when I imported them all. And I was like kind of panicking because I'm like, I know I didn't shoot as much as I normally do, But I really thought like we had I feel good about what we got. And I was just thinking like, are they going to have that much less? Like, I feel good about what I took, but like whatever. And then I culled through and it was like the same amount of photos that I would normally deliver for a wedding that size. I think the difference is that with my old camera, I was like shooting. And I always kept my 85 lens on, this 85. I always kept this 85 on, and the 85 is not very accurate. And so I would have to take like 5 shots every time, just hoping that one was in focus. And I didn't care because I love the way that they look. And so even though it missed focus some, like I just overshot because of that. What I'm finding is with this camera, I don't have to overshoot. Like I'll get the people lined up and I'll say, okay, smile. I just take it once and that's it because it's in focus. Now, of course, with family photos, I still typically take a couple in case someone's blinking, but the focus is just crazy. And I'm gonna do another video if you guys want on like how we have our camera set up. Honestly, I was gonna make my husband do it because I don't even remember how we set it up and he hasn't agreed to it yet. So we'll talk him into that. But the focus is just crazy. So I can take like way less pictures and I'm just more accurate and I miss less moments because it's so much more accurate. So that's one thing I really love about it is the focus. I am focusing using the touch screen, which is so weird to me. Like I'm not holding it up anymore, which will probably be better for wrinkles. I don't know, because I'm not like in this weird position all the time, but I'm like tapping it just because that's been the easiest way for me to do it. So I'll tap it and I'll shoot it. This is very different from what I used to do. One thing that's funny about this is that people can see over my shoulder. They can see exactly what the shot looks like. It's really easy to see on the back of the camera exactly what your settings look like, and it's just a lot easier to shoot accurately. I will say you do have to shoot a little bit more accurately because if you really underexpose and then you brighten later, it does get a little bit of grain. But if you expose properly, it can handle so much more inside low light situations. I just feel a lot more like empowered going into any wedding day because we've recently started doing a lot of like Catholic weddings and things like that, and you can't control the light because a lot of times it's very dark, and I don't like to use flash during a ceremony because I think it's just disruptive, and most like Catholic weddings they won't even let you use flash. But the low light capabilities are just incredible. I can really jack my ISO up and it's totally fine later, which is really nice. So those are a few things I love about it. This lens has been the biggest game changer just because I can get those really wide shots with beautiful composition and then I can still zoom in. We do try to keep it at like 50 to 70 if we can because that gives us more of like that bokeh look that we like. But for wider shots, it'll go all the way to 28, which is just really given us so much more freedom in being able to capture moments really, really well. I also still carry, this is the only lens that I've upgraded. So I still carry my 100 that I've had for years, and I just put an adapter on it. And that's what I use for ring shots, things like that. And then I still carry my 85. For portraits, I still like this lens better. I probably will upgrade to the mirrorless 85 eventually, but right now it's fine. But I do notice a huge difference in when I put this on for portraits and when I keep this on, because with the 70, it just doesn't get that same creamy background. So I force myself to switch. It's so easy to just keep this on all day. But that is my old 85 1.4, and then I just have the little adapter. I think the adapter is like $100. But I'll put a link for all of this stuff in the description so you can see exactly what we use. I felt bad. I just done that video and then like we switched. I actually already had the R6 at that point and I just hadn't started using it. But we've made this switch completely. Like I said, once I saw his photos were better than mine, I was like, it's time for me to change. It's time for me to change too. But the biggest things that I noticed were sharpness, like it's so much more accurate, and versatility. Like we were able to capture a lot more in a shorter amount of time. Inside, like just the low light, like he could capture things that I couldn't. Like he wouldn't even put a flash on at the reception. And I'm like, no, we need a flash so everything's consistent. But it's just crazy what a difference it makes. So if you guys have any questions about the R6 or about editing with it or anything like that, any kind of recommendations, please let me know. I'm here to help you guys. I know this video is a little different. I just kind of wanted to update you guys. That's what we're doing right now. Make sure that you guys like and subscribe, and I'll see you next week.